Hey there, it's Mario here, and it's time for the next part in our series on how do you trick your brain to eat less food. And this series is all about the evidence-based approach, the science of how you can design your environment, what type of mindset hacks you can use to make sure that you diet easier, right? So make sure that you can stick in that calorie deficit a lot easier without spending so much willpower. And we covered a lot of good ground, and in this part I wanted to cover one topic that is not even mentioned at all in the world of if it hits your macros, track your macros, intuitive eating, even like low carb, high carb, paleo, whatever the diet is. Nobody talks about the food environment. And one part of the food environment is actually what we're going to investigate today, and that is what are the effects of a chaotic environment in general, an environment that actually causes stress on how much food you eat. And one great study from 2016 conducted by Brian Weinstein and his group, who is becoming one of my favorite researchers with his books Mindless Eating and Slim by Design. And this study as well is kind of a continuation of his work, where they looked at about 100 female students and they compared what are the effects when you have those female students spend some time in a chaotic environment, in a very, very messy kitchen where it's like all chaos, a lot of noise, it's like everything is just breaking apart, versus when they just spend some time in a standard kitchen. What they found is actually the students ate twice more calories when they were in that chaotic environment, because the chaotic environment, at least the researchers concluded, it kind of makes sense, is basically when you're looking at that environment, when everything is out of your control, everything is just a mess, everything is chaos, you feel like you don't have control over yourself, right? You don't feel like it's a situation where you have a lot of control, and you feel like, well, when everything is just so crazy, I might as well eat some extra food. And in general, when you try to cope with all that environment, it causes stress, and stress again leads to overeating. So one conclusion and one interesting fact is that we want to look at what is our environment, where do we spend most of our times in, what can we do to make sure that the environment is more organized, less chaotic, or how we can cope with that environment to make sure that we can stick to our diets easier. I mean, is your kitchen making you overeat? Is your general environment in your house environment where you spend most of your time with, is it organized? Is it structured? Are you in control of that environment? Or is that environment outside of your control, generating a lot of stress and making you overeat, and in general causing that stress, which will not just impair your ability to stick to your diet, but as well as becoming less productive, right? If you're under stress nonstop, this is a stress that it's really easy to solve. You don't need that extra stress because there's so much stress in general generated by your training, by your work, by being in a caloric deficit as well. That's a stressful thing. And we want to do everything we can to make the process easier. And one thing is organize your environment, organize your surroundings to make sure that you feel like you're in control. And if you feel like you're in control, you're much more likely to make better decisions. That's a little conclusion from a small study here. Of course, I mean, this is a topic that deserves a lot more research. At least in my opinion, this is something that is often completely neglected in the whole world of being in that calorie deficit or managing your nutrition, all these things. What are the effects of the environment, right? The environment is where we spend most of our times in, and that can play a huge role, as we can see in this study and in many more studies that I'm going to reveal to you guys in this series as it continues. The more I'm doing research, the more I'm finding out about certain things that can play a role. So I'm excited to bring you more knowledge, more data, more science on how you can automate your diet process. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below, how do you cope with your environment? Is your environment organized? Is it clean? Is it something that you're in control of? How do you feel with your environment? Do you feel at home, at ease when it's more chaotic? Because I know for me personally, if my table is all chaos, if my house is all chaos, I feel like I'm more stressful and less productive. So that's just me, but I'm sure that there's people who respond differently to these kind of things. So I'm pretty excited to hear your feedback and what's your experience in the comments below. Aside from that, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.